There we are. Yes, good morning. It's Keith Hayes, broadcasting on Mirador Television from the White Hart Hotel in Lewes, East Sussex, in the Kingdom United of Great Britain. There we go. That's where we're from. We are local, but we are not parochial. We look at all sorts of things, and we start off each day, each morning, each weekday morning at 8:30 with a look at the newspapers to see what the hell's happening in the world. Well, I'll tell you, you'd think that we all are football fans looking at what's going on, and I'm afraid that it's still very much all about this bloke, and why I have no idea. Never mind. It's a bit like Brexit. Everybody gets so excited about these things, and then they take a position, and suddenly they're ready to fall out with everybody. Gary Lineker is still in the headlines. The row still rumbles on. And my goodness me, for a second-rate presenter, is causing one hell of a stink. And if you think I'm being unkind, he's a nice bloke. I think he's a nice bloke. Everybody says he's a nice bloke, and he was a great footballer. But as a broadcaster, he is very ordinary, very average, to say the least. So why we're getting all carried away, I have no idea. But let's just take a look at what the newspapers are saying. Oh, we start off with a Star this morning. And as usual, it brings a smile to our lips about something that is a pain in the ass. Great BBC balls up 1-0 to the crisp salesman. A reference to the fact that Lineker does a commercial for Walker's Crisps. I think it's Walker's. It's certainly crisp anyway. So the crisp salesman 1, BBC 0, it says. Gary Lineker is to be allowed back on air without further reprimand following the row over his Twitter use. The Daily Star declares that it's 1-0 to the crisp salesman, and that the once mighty BBC and crybaby Tory MPs have been left humiliated by the saga. Well, it depends on who you read, really, as to whether who's been humiliated. It would appear, according to some reports, that his colleagues at the BBC, not the so-called famous ones, not the frontliners, but the rest, are pretty pissed off that he's being given the concession that he has. So who's who? The trouble with newspapers, you have to. Well, no, it's not the trouble. The great thing about British newspapers is that we've got such a wide range. You can read the right-wing press and the left-wing press, and then you're left to make up your own mind. And that's the way it should be, and not being told through opinion all the time from people who purport to know far more than they do. It's all got a bit out of hand. I'm sipping on some coffee, by the way. The Eye says BBC Director General Tim Davie. Let's see. Here's Tim Davie. And Chairman Richard Sharp are under mounting political pressure over the issue. The paper says Downing Street has refused to confirm that it has confidence in the corporation's leadership, while Labour has branded the situation a complete mess. Well, they would. Yeah, I mean, the present Labour Party have got themselves into a mess. They really have. So, as one of my colleagues said to me in an email yesterday, pot, kettle, it makes you wonder. The Guardian, BBC bosses face pressure after a U-turn over Lineker. The Guardian reports that the BBC has announced a review of the guidelines for social media use by its staff and presenters. It quotes former BBC News executive Craig Oliver saying that what is actually needed is a review of how the BBC handles crises like these. Not the only thing it needs a review of. It needs a review of how it appoints people in the first place. Because really, to be quite honest with you, it is their board system is the blind trying to appoint the blind and then rationalizing their decisions. Ha ha ha. Yeah. So we know all about it. We've been there. We've done that. We've worked for them. Never again. Planet Power. Oh, sorry, that Metro. Time for a sharp exit. Metro thinks it's time for a sharp exit. The paper reports that Mr. Davey has apologized for grey areas in the BBC's guidelines and that Mr. Sharp has been accused of being missing in action during the crisis. Sharp is the president, I think. Yeah. Davey is the Director General. He's the guy that pulls the strings on a day-to-day basis. The Daily Mail, right? As the Director General caves in and says sorry, Lineker keeps job and carries on tweeting. A slap in the face for BBC licence payers, it says. The outcome of the row is a slap in the face for BBC licence payers. The Mail says bosses have been accused of capitulation for letting Lineker back on air without further punishment. Well, there we go. He's got a slap in the face, and he's got his job back. It is a mess, but it has been. The BBC has been a mess for a long time. And every time somebody tries to do something about it, the establishment clamps down and makes sure that no reform happens. But then again, as we've often said on this program, is politicians and the establishment hate reform. They do not want to be reformed. They're onto a good thing. Thank you very much indeed. Yeah. Which way to the bank? And it's all a nonsense. And perhaps this will actually trigger. No, it won't, because Sunak won't understand. Hunt might, because all the faffing around that he does as treasurer. The one thing I admired Jeremy Hunt for was he tried very hard about 7-8 years ago to introduce truly local television to communities. He went to the United States and he toured across the States and he took a look at how it works there. And he could easily have gone to the Balkans or the Baltics or some of the emerging democracies in Europe to see how it works. And the fact is, it works very well, thank you. And he tried to put together a plan so that we could have a similar situation in this country. And once he moved on, I think what did he do? He went on to be foreign secretary or something of the sort, I think, yeah. He moved on. It all fell apart because the civil servants weren't having any of that. They weren't having any of local TV as a successful thing that would put a dent in the nose of the BBC. Oh, my goodness me, no. But Jeremy Hunt might just understand what's happening at the BBC. And if he's got any gumption, and if he still is interested in his old ministry of media, sport, and the arts, I think it's called. Well, he might just be able to advise his boss as what should be done, and that this is an opportunity to do it. Don't hold your breath, but it's a possibility. Right. But let's go to the Daily Express. Has Lineker put a nail in the coffin of the licensee? Now, the Express tends to be the paper of government. And it says that former business secretary Jacob Rees-Mogg has labelled the BBC's funding model past its sell-by date, and quotes Philip Davis, also a Tory MP, saying the row is the start of the end for the fee. Well, interesting, because once again, no matter who has tampered with the license fee, it all comes back to the BBC shouting and screaming and making sure that it gets its little feet under the table and gets all that money back. Is the license fee outmoded? I don't know. I'm not here to debate that this morning. What I do think is that it certainly should be looked at very carefully, and not by a committee of insiders. Get a committee of ordinary folk. Give them a chance to recommend to the government. Let's. I'm beyond shock. Right, okay. Let's go back to me for a moment, and yes, there. And let's leave Mr. Lineker to stew in his own juice for a little while. But I suspect after this, if he's got any sense at all, he'll think twice about mouthing off and being the people's champion. I have no objection whatsoever to him being the people's champion, to expressing his views on social media. But he's got to be very, very careful that what he does is he does it as Gary Lineker Esquire, not as anything to do with anything that makes him famous, particularly a ratepayer or a taxpayer-funded organization. That's where he's made a mistake, and that's where the brouhaha has come. Okay, the Financial Times: banks battered and rate forecasts reined in as SVB tremors spread. The Silicon Valley Bank went bust, and it's having shockwaves throughout the financial community. So the Financial Times actually leads on that. The collapse of Silicon Valley Bank, which is the 16th largest bank in the United States, tore through the markets on Monday and drove investors to dump bank stocks around the world. Oh, well, it's about time that they had a shock coming to them. The retail banks are a disgrace. The Financial Times reports, it says US President Joe Biden has sought to reassure depositors that whatever is needed will be done to protect their funds, and calls the episode the biggest test of the US financial system since 2008. So that's taking it very, very seriously. And this is going to have an impact. And the fact of the matter is, okay, why would we be very worried about this in Lewis? Because as goes the American economy, so goes the UK economy, and as goes the UK economy, so goes the micro economy of Lewis and East Sussex. So beware, right? Financial crises brewing again in the background, which how will it pan out? I have no idea, but we've had enough financial shocks one way or another the last little while. Watch out for another one. Right. Now, let's see, the Times is the Prime Minister strikes a submarine deal to face a new threat. The Times reports that the UK, the United States, and Australia have agreed to build a world-leading generation of nuclear-powered submarines as part of a 20-year defence partnership. It says Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has warned that the years of growing global security are over and that Britain needs to boost its defence capability. Well, there you are. So it looks as if the $5 billion that the armed forces want to bolster their force, really, their power, is going to be granted. But also the fact is that this for workers here, this joint venture of building submarines with two reasonably wealthy partners is not going to be too bad at all. The Daily Telegraph, boost for pensions as Hunt ready to raise the cap. Now, what's that all about? Because we've had all sorts of the triple lock comes into effect next month. I don't know that it's going to be much help because already into my letterboxes, I've got my phone bill is going to go up, my heating bill is going to go up, my water bill is going to go up, all because, oh dear, they all say because of extra costs. In other words, they've added $1 million or $2 million onto the salary of their chief executives. And they've shelled out a few more bob to their investors before actually looking at anything else. Oh dear, we don't have any money left. Where are we going to get it? Let's get it off the people that are not terribly important to us, our clients, because they can't do anything about it. So I would imagine that, that first of all, the triple lock hasn't helped. The 10% isn't going to be 10%. We'll be lucky if we get 2% out of it all. But the Chancellor is preparing to raise the tax-free allowance for pensions by more than £500,000 as part of measures to dissuade people from taking early retirement. The paper quotes think tank, the Centre for Policy Studies, calling the current £1 million limit the biggest impediment to remaining in the workforce for those affected. Right, okay. Now the rest is it's the usual silly crap. Interesting enough, I suppose. The Sun, Glitter back in jail. It says the news that former pop star and convicted paedophile Gary Glitter has been returned to jail after the paper reported that he'd been filmed discussing accessing the dark web while using a smartphone. I don't know what the dark web is, but I rather imagine that it's one of those naughty sex. I mean, there are enough sex sites around, but there are some very, very naughty ones where it gets very, very evil and very, very nasty. And I assume that the dark web is one of those that he is nasty. He's been seen looking. The Mirror goes the same way. Bail breach probe, Glitter back in jail. Shamed pop star, age 78, behind bars again after fears over phone and web use. A source tells the paper that it's clear Glitter has no remorse for his crimes. Well, there we are. I tried looking for some local news this morning, and I couldn't find a great deal. But the funny thing is, that I am very critical of the internet and of computers. Don't misunderstand. I recognize the value of computers and what they can bring to our society, and which they do. We couldn't run this television station, this television channel, without computers and without the software and without a lot of the good work that's done. But there are a lot of things also, is that here, for no reason whatsoever, is a subscription of local news that came into my inbox has just disappeared, just gone. God only knows where, but it's finished, and I have no idea where it's at, and that's really not very nice at all. And so, excuse me while I just make sure that we're not going to get our knickers into a twist over the. I have this little monitor, you see, just to make sure that we're we're going out on air. And if I leave the sound up, then I'm in real trouble, because it will cause a feedback that will go into my ear, into your ear, and oh my goodness me, well, there we are. Yes, I've got it up, and I can see. I can wave to myself here. Right, it is 8:53, and the other thing of importance that we do today or in the day is we well, now that wasn't the right one, and the fact is that it was almost correct. it's oh dear. I do have some problems with these things, but let me just tell you that the temperatures today are going to be about 10, and but they're starting off at -3. The wind is going to be breezy. It's going to be a mild, gusty day, and there will be some light rain around. But once again, we gave the weather forecast yesterday where it's all going to be blown to smithereens, and it was sunshiny for most of the day. And I'm looking across at the courthouse, and once again, it's bathed in sunshine at the moment. So it takes your chance. Take your let's see what is likely to happen in is God help us. We have no idea what we're on about until we actually get the right file up, and that's a bit that is actually always bothers me. Is it never does what it's supposed to do, and so. Anyway, let me tell you that it is now 8:56. That it is the 14th of March, 2023, and we should be having a bit of a mixed weather day, but at the moment it's okay. And why we have these problems with, I have no idea. I actually get I get system after system, and it never ever seems to work. Never ever seems to work. But here, let's replay the weather, shall we? Yes, let's. Good morning. Good morning, darling. Yeah.
Hang on.
Hang on. Well, we do say it's quirky. They do say that our news is quirky, and we can't be quirkier than that. I used to say, the trouble is that, of course, the modern generation have no sense of history at all. And I used to say, we pulling a Jack DiManio. People who are a little longer in the tooth will remember Jack DiManio, but let me tell you, he was a BBC disc jockey who could never, ever get anything right. He would give the wrong day. He would give the wrong time. He would be late on air. He would be late getting off. He did absolutely everything wrong. But he was so charming that he got a huge following. And a bit like Lineker, the BBC couldn't get rid of him. So he became famous for simply getting all the details wrong, Jack DiManio. So we say we pull a Jack DiManio quite frequently here, is in as much as we get things wrong. Not horrendously wrong, so we're going to create a crisis, but we do get things wrong. Sometimes the time, sometimes the day, sometimes the weather, sometimes other little bits and pieces. But anyway, this is taking us up to 8:59, and we take a half-hour break now. What is dominating the newspaper headlines this morning is, yes, this man, you might have guessed, and if you like, versus this man who is the Director General of the BBC. And they are going at it hammer and tone, and it's largely dividing people, depending on which newspaper you read. Some say, "Oh, Lineker has won," and some say that the staff at the BBC haven't left in droves the way that some of the newspapers have reported. That they are really very upset that this man has allowed him, Lineker, to get away without being properly punished. So they are. There is some decency left in the world somewhere. It's 9:01. Oh, we have talked ourselves into, well, we'll see you in half an hour.